celebratory crowd of thousands bundled up on a chilly Tuesday to watch President Joseph Robinette Biden sign his gay marriage legislation into law. A joyful ceremony that was tempered by the backdrop of an ongoing conservative backlash over gender issues. He invited singers Sam Smith and Cyndi Lauper, and they performed. Vice President Kamala Harris recalled officiating a lesbian wedding in San Francisco. And the White House played a recording of Biden's television interview from a decade ago where he caused a political furor by unexpectedly disclosing his support for gay marriage when he was the vice president. And even Obama had not completely endorsed the idea yet. Lawmakers from both parties attended Tuesday's ceremonies, reflecting the growing acceptance of same-sex unions among the country's most contentious issues. Of course, you have people like Chuck Schumer, who had the virtue signal and wore the same purple tie to the ceremony that he wore to his daughter Allison's wedding.
Whoa.
She and her wife are expecting their first child in the spring. And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told the crowd that inside maneuvering only takes us so far. And she thanked activists for adding impetus with your impatience, your persistence, and your patriotism. Now, despite Tuesday's excitement, there was a level of concern about the nationwide proliferation of conservative policies on gender issues at the state level. Biden criticized the callous, cynical laws introduced in the states targeting transgender children. What he says were targeting transgender children, terrorizing families, and criminalizing doctors who give children the care they need. Rev, I know you're chomping at the bit here.
Qui, moi? Who, me?
Yes. I'm looking at this there like, oh God. Geez. And I just read your email, so please bless us, Rev.
Well, for starters, I have always been intrigued by the fact that for some reason the homosexual agenda has, for a long time now, hitched its wagon to the civil rights star.
Yep.
Now, I grew up in Gary, Indiana. My parents, I believe, were born in Tennessee. And I do remember being told stories when I was 2 and 3 years old, so I couldn't have remembered the actual incidents, but I was present for them, of traveling down to Tennessee, with that Green Book thing.
Right.
And going to a restaurant, apparently, that my father had to go into the back door.
Right.
They didn't refuse his money, but he couldn't come in the front door with his money.
Right.
Without there being some problems.
Right.
I then remember back in the 1990s, in fact, traveling to Minden, Louisiana with a friend. She was from that area, and she asked me to drive her down there for her dad's funeral. And while I was there, I discovered I needed a key, needed to make a copy of a key. I go into this place, kind of like an Ace Hardware store, and no one is in there but me in terms of customers. And the guy sitting behind the counter made himself busy. Then a white person came in. He jumped up and he served them. And then he went back to making himself busy.
Right.
Like, well, this is odd. And the girl was with me.
Yeah.
And then another white person came in, and he jumped up and he served them, and he was all friendly. And then he went back to make himself busy. I said, wait a minute. Now, one time, I might would have went with one time, but twice, there's no way I can ignore this. And I'm, feeling, 1990s,
Yeah, this is the 90s.
Black power to the people. And I know that this is wrong. And she said, no.
What?
I said, what do you mean, no? He's ignoring us. Excuse me. And then she said, no. Let me take care of it. And she steps up. She says, excuse me, sir. Would you mind helping us out? We need, it was like she was begging him to please take our money.
Right.
And he walked up like he was seriously doing us a favor to take our money. We got the key made. It worked. But afterward, as we're walking out, I said, what was that? She goes, you can't do that here. I said, what do you mean I can't do that here? You mean I can't do that at this store? She said, no, you can't do that down here. I said, oh, okay. Okay. 1990, I didn't know I stepped into a time warp.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But see, Minden is one of those little towns in northern Louisiana.
Yeah.
Where they don't know that, 50 years has passed. Now, that's a little thing. That's anecdotal. But I don't know. I have not heard of anything approaching that these people that President Biden says he was defending their rights in signing this bill, that they've had anything remotely looking like what we have endured in this country.
Exactly.
And then when they bring up the issue of same-sex and interracial marriage, why?
Well,
See, I understand why the laws against interracial marriage existed. I know why they existed. They existed because white men in America were concerned about what would happen when white women and black men got together and had children.
Yep.
I'm that specific because they didn't have any problem with white men getting together with black women and producing children.
Oh, yeah.
They was doing that all over the landscape.
Oh, yeah. George Washington.
But black men having babies by white women, that was a problem.
That's beyond.
Now, on the other hand, I look at same-sex marriage. Well, I don't know that same-sex marriages can produce any children.
They cannot.
Last time I checked, biologically speaking, there's no way it can happen. So when I read, people saying things like someone saying his daughter and her wife are looking forward to having their child.
Well, they're having a science project.
They are not having their child.
Exactly.
One of them is having somebody's child.
Yeah, yeah.
Might be one of their child. Matter of fact, we can't even be certain that even one of them, put any, DNA towards that project.
Right.
But you're right. They're doing a science project.
Right.
The loving decision was not about preventing a science project. The loving decision was about preventing the idea that black folks and white folks can get married, and it's no different than black folks and white folks getting married when it's a white man.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That it's all okay. It's all just like a Hallmark movie. Because that's the only place I've seen in American culture where black folks and white folks live in the same town and everybody gets along, everybody's friendly. You don't see any trace of any sort of discomfort. And every time I see one of those movies, I'm like, I can't even relate to this.
Yeah, yeah.
But the bottom line, for me, look, I get it because marriage has basically evolved into this romance thing. And at the same time, we do have these legal protections for families. And we could go, 20 or 30 minutes on just why those legal protections exist in the case of what used to be marriage,
right,
without the need of a qualifier, just plain marriage. Why do they have these protections regarding property and so on and so forth? They exist quite simply because without those protections, a woman surrenders her future, surrenders her time, her talent, her treasure to give a man offspring.
Right.
So he has a future.
Mm-hmm.
He has, a legacy.
Right.
And so that he won't drop kick her at the next exit when the next young nubile female shows up.
Exactly.
That's why all those property laws and all those other things exist around marriage.
Right.
It's not because Steve and Tommy, who decide they like each other a whole lot, and so, they want to live together. And so when Tommy dies, Steve gets to inherit. They have that you can do that already.
Right.
I don't have to marry my father in order to inherit, whatever his property was.
Right.
All I need is a will.
Mm-hmm.
So, what this gets down to is they are engaged in a process by which everything that was considered objectively to be, objective reality, no longer exists.
Yep.
Everything is subjective. Everything is according to how you feel about it. Nothing can be actually condemned. What I wondered was, Okay, they're saying that no one should be deprived of no one should be deprived of equal access to society based on their sex, race, religion, or who they love. So, shall we stop making pedophiles report their locations? Should it be okay for them to live wherever they want to live because someone that they love lives there? Okay, granted, he's only 11 years old, but love is love.
Well, see, and the issue I have, and I talk about it probably every week. The listeners are probably sick of me saying this. This is once again white liberals using black people again.
Mm-hmm.
White liberals and the colored people who love them again, using our history, hundreds of years of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow into the 1960s. Redlining, the two-tiered legal system.
Mm-hmm.
This is once again, and they always have to bring out somebody black. They always got to bring out a civil rights leader. But again, this is the fault of the black misleadership class. This is the fault of the black who allowed them to do this to us. So interracial marriage was never at stake. And you want to know how I know? Clarence Thomas's wife is white.
Yep.
Do you seriously think Clarence Thomas is going to undo his own marriage?
I mean, there's simpler ways of doing it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's one way to get rid of him.
but
he's not going to. So interracial marriage was never at any real threat. Everybody knows this. Like you said, to put it in layman's term, marriage exists to force men to take care of the women that they knocked up and their children. That's what marriage has been about. That's what, even beyond the religious or the moral aspect, it's about, like you said, so that men won't abandon the women that they knocked up.
Yeah.
Okay? And so...
Because that's important.
Right, it is.
Because families are important to communities.
You don't have communities without families.
Yeah.
And the nuclear family is probably the best invention human beings ever came up with.
It's the brick that the wall is made up from.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, to pretend... that these things are analogous is so dishonest, is so disingenuous. And again, the problem is that because white liberals control the media, all the black leaders that you're going to see on TV, all the black people who can get elected, all the black people who are going to be on CNN, MSNBC, going to work for the New York Times, the Chicago Sun-Times, the Tribune, whatever, they're all going to be people who are going to have to go along with this. People like Farrakhan or other black leaders who are more skeptical of white liberals and the colored people who love them, colonizing the civil rights movement, okay, because that's really what feminists and the alphabet gang have done. They're about colonizing the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know, gay people make more money than straight people do.
Yeah.
In America, they do. Look it up. Gay people now make more money than straight people do. Now, ask me, do black people make more than white people? No, of course not. Because, again, you can be gay and born a Kennedy. You can be gay and born Donald Trump's son. You can be gay and born Bill Gates' son or daughter. Gay was never about what racism was about. It was never about the type of intergenerational class warfare against our communities where we have to be poor for 400 years and Native Americans have to all be on a reservation and we got to be in a ghetto somewhere. That's never been what the gayness, the homophobia is about. Homophobia is about people having a problem with the way you choose to live your life.
Yeah.
And that's really, and so what they're trying to say is that nobody can have a problem with the way you live your life. But to me, again, this shows you that once again, this is what they prioritize. And of course, again, none of the black leaders, none of the black misleadership class will say, this is what you prioritize? Over the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, over reparations, over universal health care, $15 minimum wage, whatever issues that most black people support or that the majority of working class and poor people support in this country, regardless of how you feel about it, one way or the other, there are things that are more relevant to the living standards and conditions of the average person than whether or not, you know,
I look at it like this. If homosexuals have been around for a long time. They were around during the Revolutionary War. They were around during 1812. They were around during the Civil War. All this time, they've been around.
Right.
And nobody passed any law saying they couldn't get married. No one had any thinking about any law saying they couldn't get married because no one thought that two guys or two women
Right.
would feel the need to get married.
And most of them didn't want to get married. Let me go to this call right quick. Hello, caller.
Well, good evening, gentlemen.
Good
Hey,
evening.
what's going on?
It's just another day's done, and I'm glad about it.
All right.
So I'm
But,
all agree
I
with
was
you.
just wondering as I was listening to your conversation, I was just wondering where it would be awful nice if I could hear some of our church leaders speaking to this conversation as to what should we be teaching our children.
Apparently, you can't judge anybody's personal morality at all. You can't judge anything.
Well, I'm going to teach my children that marriage is honorable. And the marriage bed is undefiled because God gave us marriage for a particular purpose. I'm going to teach them that that purpose is that we would be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth, that we would exercise dominion over the earth as stewards of it, and that therefore we should expect that marriage, if acted upon by both parties reasonably, you don't have to be a perfect woman or a perfect man to have a successful marriage. Just be two reasonable people who recognize that they are in a till death do us part relationship, and that's the most important thing, because that matters to your children, that matters to your family, that matters to your legacy. That's what I'm going to teach my kids. And that this other stuff, if some lady named Sally comes up to Danny or Dinah and says, "Oh, I'm in love with you," they're going to say, "Well, I can appreciate you have feelings for me. I don't know, what you're going to do with them, but no, I don't feel that way towards you. And have a nice day."
Yeah. Well, the reason why I bring the children piece up is because I believe deep in my spirit that our children are the greatest victims of this, what I call left-handed stuff that's going on, the act of the enemy who come to steal, kill, and destroy. I think the children are the victims.
Yeah.
And I believe that we that claim that we are followers of Jesus Christ and the leaders of our churches, we ought to be taking some kind of stance for the benefit of our children, because it done got out of hand.
If we just teach rightly regarding marriage, regarding family, regarding what the terms of the kingdom of heaven are all about. I don't have to do sermons against homosexuality or sermons against transgenderism. Just keep things consistent with the orders of creation, and everything else sort of falls into place all by itself.
Well, now, I can appreciate what you're saying, but what I'm saying is this: that should be in the. Now, I'm Methodist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we open up our services on Sunday morning, we say we do the Apostles' Creed.
Mm-hmm.
And the questions asked when we repeat that, what is it that you believe? And we repeat the Apostles' Creed,
Mm-hmm.
ones who agree with that. So now, where do we go on Monday?
On Monday?
On Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, when these issues come up now that we know are totally against what the teachings of the Bible are regarding marriage.
Yeah.
What do we do? We go in the clubs and hide, hush?
No.
I'm just wondering.
Not even a little bit. Well, not me anyway. I understand that for people like Congressman Warnock, he might have problems because he's trying to, keep the peace with a progressive front. But I don't operate under those constraints. So I am a pastor. That's the only job I got.
Okay, all right. I didn't know that you were
That's why that's the only job I got.
Speak with all due respect to everybody when I make statements. The thing I believe, Pastor, is a challenge to us. You, Pastor, I'm a lay minister.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a direct challenge to us in our faith. What do we say about it?
Oh, I agree. I agree. It's directly targeted at the Christian church because they're not going to target Islam with this.
No, oh God, no.
They're not even going to come anywhere near the mosque with this.
Not yet. Not yet. It's just like for a long time they wouldn't say anything to black people about anything. Now they're busy trying to turn black men into the most bigoted group of people in the world.
And effeminate.
Right.
That's going to link to our third topic tonight.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about something else when we get back here on WLTH 1378. Thank you for your call, sir.
Okay, thank you for hearing me.
It's all good. We'll be right back after these on WLTH 1370. If you got an opinion, give us a call, 219-885-1371. That number again, 219-885-1371. And if you didn't hear me, I'll tell you again.
Listening to Scott and the Rev on WLTH 1370 AM. Give us a call, 219-885-1371.